Hello, sir. Please sound test.
Hello, good afternoon.
আপনার আমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে?
Yes, yes, yes.
আপনার আমার কথা শোনা যাচ্ছে? একটু কথা বলেন।
Yes, yes. হ্যাঁ, রিটন ভাই। রিটন ভাই, সাউন্ড শুনতে পাচ্ছেন রিটন ভাই? রিটন ভাই?
আক্তার, আপনি একটু কথা বলেন।
হ্যাঁ, রিটন ভাই, আমার কথা শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যাঁ, সাউন্ড ক্লিয়ার।
হ্যাঁ, ওকে,
ঠিক আছে।
ওকে, ওকে।
সালাম আলাইকুম স্যার। স্যার রিটন বলছিলাম।
হ্যাঁ, ওয়ালাইকুম সালাম। ওদের সাথে
জি স্যার।
ঠিক আছে সব?
স্যার সব ঠিক আছে, আক্তারের সাথে সারাদিনের কথা হয়েছে, এর আগেও আক্তারের সাথে টেস্ট করছি, সবই ঠিক আছে। আর আরেকটা হলো যে কোনো কারণে যদি বিড়ি নেটওয়ার্ক ডিস্টার্ব করে, আপনার মোবাইলে আমি লিংক দিয়ে রাখছি, ওই লিংকে ক্লিক করলে আপনার ঢুকে যাবেন আপনার
ঠিক
হোয়াটসঅ্যাপে।
ঠিক আছে।
আচ্ছা স্যার, আমি আছি, মিউটে আছি আর কি। সালাম আলাইকুম স্যার।
Yeah, Onil Azad is still muted. Yeah, you should unmute. Still muted. Onil Azad is still muted. রিটন আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না তো।
স্যার ওনারা মিউটে আছে, আপনি যে বলতেছেন ওনারা কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন না?
আনমিউট করছে না তো।
না স্যার, করতেছে না।
You can start it now. So thank you, Deepak ji, for all the energy that you have brought to this initiative. And I'm sure that this is going to be a very important initiative in the sense that while we all know that Indian agriculture is the second largest in the world, accounting for almost $500 billion, maybe $500 billion plus, who will know better than Dr. Ramesh Chan. But trade has been very minimal. In fact, exports account for about 2.2% of the value of Indian agriculture. So a long way to go. But within the trade of agriculture, the grains and pulses form the most central part of it. And there is an immense opportunity. And there are also quite a good number of constraints, the problems, the road blocks, bottlenecks. So I think these need to be addressed. For example, grains is the largest exported commodity from India. These restrictions of recent days apart, otherwise almost 16, $17 billion of export out of $53 billion total, that was of the grains. And the second largest imported commodity after the edible oils is the pulses. So we need to put in place a lot of work to ensure that while stability in pulses demand and India's ability to produce more is there, the opportunity for exports is maximized because there are a lot of demand that is happening. There are policy issues that need to be addressed for long-term vision and roadmap for this to ensure that India emerges and continues to be a very reliable supplier of the grains world over. So a body like this, we have a large number of research institutions in the country, agriculture research institutions. We have a lot of developmental and financial institutions, but there are very few the policy research institutions. Niti Aayog is, of course, the at all macro level overarching role that it plays. But when it comes to very specific research, and especially the business related research and the action strategy related to that, where a lot of trade and businesses are on board, such bodies were felt needed for a long time. Chamber on its part has been doing a specific, paying attention. For example, roundtable conferences, policy roundtable conferences that we do. Two are planned for 26th of April. The two are planned for 2nd of May, and again two for 24th of May. So there about 40, 50 people, they come together, they brainstorm on what are the issues, constraints, and if these are addressed, how this will help unlock the potential of that sector. We also launched the India Agri Exports Council 4 years back, and that is doing well, helping accelerate the exports. We also intend to launch Digital Agriculture Council in a month's time or so. Already, first international agro trade arbitration center anywhere in the world that was launched by ICFA about 6 months back, chaired by none other than the former Chief Justice of India, Justice Sathasivam, who was also Governor of Kerala. So very high-powered committee is there to do the arbitration take of the matters. There are a lot of issues that, because I have been on the board of EPIDA, I understand. Trade-related issues are there where arbitration, effective arbitration with the domain understanding is required. So many initiatives that at the chamber we are taking, of course, with the Africa Asia Rural Development Organization, we have an MOU in place. His Excellency Mr. Nadir Singh knows it well. So there are a lot of opportunities, and fortunately, his presence, he has got the membership of almost 20 African countries and same number of Asian countries as part of his organization. So therefore, his coming on board brings a lot of value to this overall initiative. Thank you, Dr. Chand, for being, for gracing the occasion, and your presence overall policy making the central role that Niti Aayog plays. Within that, the most central role Dr. Chand himself plays. All the major policy documents related to food, agriculture, and where farmers' empowerment is concerned, Dr. Chand's role is there. So thank you very much. And Your Excellencies, I think your presence will be very immensely valuable to us to discuss and exchange knowledge and deliberate upon, elaborate the strategies and how the cooperation can be strengthened, how we move forward, how the unlocking the potential of trade brings the food and nutrition security. While grains is meant for primarily the food security, the pulses for nutrition security. And India being a very large though figure says 70% is non-vegetarian population, but the non-vegetarian population is not 30 days non-vegetarian. It is occasional non-vegetarian. So it is largely a vegetarian society. So pulses have a very important role to play, and all the efforts of ICR system and all the technology institutions all these years have not been able to bring self-sufficiency and consistently that, because there are technology related bottlenecks in giving quantum jump to the pulses production. So I believe global trade will play a major role in ensuring the nutrition security for countries like India, and India's ability to produce more grains and cater to the requirements of the world will also play an important role in bringing the food security to the world. So thank you very much. Thank you all of you for being part of it, and we look forward to your suggestions, guidance, and participation in taking forward this initiative to a very impactful role that we intend to play under this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Deepak. Over to you.
Now I would like to invite dignitaries to light the lamp. Your Excellency, sir, we can light the lamp. Sacheti ji, if you can also join us for lighting the lamp. Krishan ji, please, sir. Suits up. Please, Grace. Say, suits up.
Jointly,
Yeah, absolutely.
in this solution.
So thank you, Your Excellency and eminent guest, for lighting the lamp. So I always believe well started is half done. So with thumbs up support, we have already reached a stage where we are having such a awesome audience. And now we will straight away go into the first panel discussion. And that's very interesting panel discussion which we'll be having. It is on international trade and cooperation in grains and pulses. Uh, I'm pretty sure that actually, like, when we talk about grains and pulses, as Khansab said, very critical commodities for the global south. So whether we are talking about Asia, whether we're talking about Africa, and I believe strongly we need synergetic relationship with all the countries who are into typically Pacific Rim, because a lot of things which we produce is required in Southeast Asia, in Africa. At the same time, other way around, the beautiful tuar pigeon pea, the tuar dal coming from Myanmar, the urad dal or bekmape coming from again Myanmar is very critical for us. At the same time, we also see like the importance of pulses coming from Tanzania. Your Excellency, Ambassador of Tanzania, High Commissioner of Tanzania would also be joining us. She's on the way. So I would start with you, sir, with when we talk about the pulses, uh, India is always looking at very strong supportive environment from countries like Myanmar. So I would like to understand from you, sir, how do you see this trade going forward and what can be done, whether from the policymakers or our trading community in India, to ensure that farmers of Myanmar are happy, at the same time the consumers of India don't have to pay through their nose. Okay. Yeah. We will do a small bouquet presentation, Professor Chand, sir. And we would also like to welcome a very dynamic officer from Ministry of Agriculture. So Samuel, thank you, sir, for gracing this event, sir. Can we have some claps, guys? Now, I would like to request Sri Manoj ji. Next, we would go to His Excellency Myanmar, Mr. Mo Kwa Aung. His Excellency Peter Hoave, Republic of Zimbabwe. My apologies for my pronunciation, because when so many countries are involved, it's not always that you're right. So my apology in case I've in any way not spoken the name in the right manner. Sir, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and namaste. It is a great honor and pleasure to be here, and I would like to the thank IGPC for inviting me. And this discussion is very, very useful. And as Myanmar is a immediate neighbor of India, and Myanmar have been trading with India for millennium, and we enjoy very, very friendly relations. And also Myanmar, among Southeast Asian countries, Myanmar is only country sharing land border and maritime border. We share land border with 4 states in India, Arunachal, Mizoram, Nagaland, and Manipur, and we share maritime border in Bay of Bengal. And among people of Myanmar and India,
we have very strong ties, very strong cultural ties. And, speaking of trading, because of close proximity and our country endowed with arable land and relatively smaller population. And most importantly, we have the freshwater resource. For example, the Irrawaddy River, we don't have to share with any other country. So India is sixth largest trading partner, but I think India is the largest trading partner for us because that means we have a lot of potentials, and we are exporting. You, as you rightly said, we are exporting urut, mung bean, and tur from Myanmar. So if you eat those things, probably they are coming from Myanmar. But I think we have much more potential than that. So the last year we exported 1.3 billion worth of agriculture product to India, but majorities are beans and pulses. So our country can produce more than just urut tur and mung bean. So we should identify new beans and pulses that suit Indian consumer taste. And um, when I arrived here, I think 6 years ago, and I think we managed to have the MOU with Indian government in the export of beans and pulses. It is very useful, and I'm very much impressed by uh, India's tech- technical know-how because it is very impressive. India was a net food importer, and thanks to the Green Revolution, India became a net food exporters. So there are many areas of cooperation in agriculture between two countries. Traditionally, you know, the we receive the expertise from India, so we need the technological transfer and also investment. And we have to make use of the potential, because for the time being we are utilizing just a fraction of the potential. And also we have market for Indian products. We are importing pharmaceutical, steels, and electrical products. So uh, we need the technical assistance, and also we invite investors from India to produce agricultural goods. We have land, we have water resources, we have manpower. What we need is the technical know-how and also investment. And our production methods are a bit outdated, so we should learn from India, and also in the uh, new high yield varieties from your country, and also post harvest technology, storage, fumigations, and so there are a lot of areas for cooperation. So I think we look forward to the further cooperation, and we are very close because of the geographical proximity and close cultural ties. And speaking of trading, from City Port, that is operated by Indian company, uh, to Kolkata, it takes only one day. So from Rangoon Port to Chennai, I think, also just 2 days. So traditionally, even the British era, we did a lot of tradings. So I think, we have to strive to reach that level. So we count on the support of the organization like yours. And also from here, I would like to invite Indian business people to go and see for yourself the potential and invest and also transfer um, technical know-how. And, so uh, we are looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, sir, actually, very interesting aspects you have touched upon. And I've been a regular traveler to sir, Myanmar, right? The Yangon is a very beautiful city. And in fact, many of us, which we are having gray hairs, we all remember Mere Piya Gaye Rangoon, right? It was a very famous song. And like, our relationship goes long back. And believe me, like, all those who are here, Myanmar is a huge opportunity when we talk about like, investing. There are a lot of areas of, I'll say that potential where the money you can multiply multifold. One is definitely food processing, augmented agriculture, and also like as you rightly mentioned that Myanmar is next door. So like your neighbors are always important.
The one thing I forgot to mention is, we have uh, make the the rupee local currency arrangement. So in the future, I think, we can export our products in Indian rupee instead of US dollar.
Right. So just for those who don't understand what His Excellency is saying, now India and Myanmar can trade in rupee. So we are having direct conversion from the Myanmar currency to Indian rupee. So like, you can directly trade. You don't need to like, depend on the dollar price. That directly the prices of Kate and rupee are tagged to each other.
So tradition will be much more convenient. And I think previously we export India through Singapore, third country, but now we are exporting directly. Our shipment goes directly to Indian port, to Chennai, Kolkata, and we are finalizing coastal shipping agreement. So I think it will be a great boost for trading.
No, I totally agree, and all the claps for like the great support Myanmar has been doing for India. Let's clap for our neighbors. Now, my next question is to His Excellency Peter, sir. We see like India always helping countries whenever it is required. While we had restricted export of some of the grains, whether it's wheat and rice, right? We continue to serve a lot of African countries. Going forward, what would be a suggestion? What do you think, right? We should do to have a little bit more stronger bilateral trade with Zimbabwe.
Thank you. Yes, I also want to first of all thank the Indian Chamber of Food and Agriculture for inviting us to this meeting. When we got the invitation, we thought it was important to attend and also share our views, because right now the importance of food security, not just in India or Asia, but across the world, is being now really emphasized by the climate change problem that we are having. Right now, as we speak, in Southern Africa, we have a huge drought, maybe one of the biggest, maybe in the last 10, 20 years, where crops have completely failed. So it's important that we exchange views on measures that can be taken to um, come up with measures that are maybe climate proof. And we also know that when the Russia-Ukraine war started, there was a lot of problem with the issue of grain, because grain was like one of the major exporters of Ukraine was one of the major exporters, and with the war, it affected a lot of countries, particularly in Africa. And I think you all recall that a number of African heads of state actually traveled to Russia to try and come and appeal about that issue, because Africa was being very adversely affected. So in terms of our views, I would say, well, what we want, especially from Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, we admire India. The fact that a country of 1.4 billion is able to be food secure and even export, it's actually a great achievement. So we are very keen to learn the experience of India, and also, of course, the measures that the sector has taken to come up with innovative ways of making sure that the land that is there produces more. But more particularly, in terms of our appeal to India, is because of this issue of climate change. We have food insecurity, not necessarily because we don't have enough rains, but mostly because the rain pattern is still, because of the climate change. You find that we have rains that come maybe for 3 weeks and then go for maybe 2 weeks or a month, like what happened in this time. We had rains in December, but no rains in January. And so as Zimbabwe, as the government has decided to focus more on developing irrigation schemes, because right now we have lots of water from the rains, but we cannot use it without irrigation schemes. So our really appeal to India is to maybe come and invest also. We know you want to export your grain and so on, but you can also come and invest and manufacture in Africa. So especially if we have a situation like maybe the wars or even the COVID, where even if there's grain here, you can't export it. Then if you have it in Africa, you can redistribute from Africa. So we are actually inviting Indian companies to come also and produce and then sell within the African region, because now we have the African free trade area, where if you set up and manufacture in one country, you can sell to the whole of Africa. So that is our main appeal. Thank you.
Now, sure, with opening up of free trade between so many African countries, I believe all the destination becomes so interesting. So let's give a clap to Zimbabwe. And now I would like to go all the way to Europe and would request Mr. Arnaud Petit from International Grain Council. Sir, your views on how in your long illustrious career, you have seen that the relationship between Asia and Africa, right, contributing to intertrade between these continents as well as for feeding the world, because there is a saying that Africa is going to become the food ball of the world and the technology will come from India. Your views on that, sir?
Thank you very much, and really thank you also to provide us opportunity to be with you this evening. The first thing I would say is when we talk about trade, we need to produce when we need trade. We can only trade what we are producing. And if you look what indeed the tremendous improvement of India in terms of increasing its productivity, not just on volume, but also on productivity, that's really something we need to look. And in last 2 years, when we have seen India even able to export 10 million tons of wheat without impairing its logistic on rice, that shows indeed the tremendous effort which has been achieved by the operators, the grains operators in India. So really important to look about productivity. The second point is logistics and value chain. That's also a second point which has very increased, and we see more and more relationship between India, Africa, but I would say maybe also India and not just only Africa. We see all this region also in the Pacific, which are more and more looking to get a further food security linked to trade. So there is a tremendous opportunity for Asia to continue to supply that regions in order to develop trade, but also to develop grain value chains in those countries. It is clear now with logistics disruptions, there will be always an interest, as His Excellency from Zimbabwe said, that to develop trade, but at the same time to develop value chain. And here, all the knowledge in India in terms of processing grains, the transformation of grains. I think here there is definitively also new opportunities for the future for the ag sector in India. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Very insightful words. While I go to His Excellency Manoj Nardeo, I would request Mr. Dotto from Tanzanian Embassy, because Her Excellency High Commissioner is not there. Can you sir join on the dais? Because I need to also talk to Tanzania. No? Okay. Okay, fair enough. I think she's coming. Embassy, her High Commissioner is coming. So the question to you is that, like, we know that, like, Asia and Africa, right, being very similar when it comes to, like, the smallholder farmers, the way our overall, like, social structures are. We have seen, like, challenges of, like, affordability of food. And these are very, very, I'll say that, common strands which connect these two large continent. So your views on that, how this collaboration can be further increased, especially when we see it with the context of pulses and grains.
Can I use it? Thank you very much. I think on behalf of ADU, African Asian Rural Development Organization, I have to congratulate ICFA and this very laudable initiative. We are launching this council. The issues of trade, I think most of our excellencies on the panel and even online have elaborated the issue of trade and interconnection with food security, nutrition security, and technology, and also the need to produce where it is being consumed. We are a multilateral platform. We encourage India to be bilateral also, but please, we will be happy for having the connection and to operate on that multilateral platform, which has been here in India. The headquarters is in India since long. We would congratulate India also to have very laudable initiative to support many countries. Even when COVID was there, the vaccination mission has been very successfully led by the government of India. On top of that, a very remarkable historical, I would say, resolution in the G20 was the admission of the African Union itself to the G20. That's again showing India taking the lead as the global south, a leader of the global south. And obviously, as we are connecting, and as you rightly said, there are many similarities between these countries of Africa and Asia. We have been in the business of rural development, and agriculture cannot be dissociated from rural development. Most of the people in India, in African countries, in Asian, Southeast Asian countries, will live in villages. And obviously, now when we are talking about food security, pulses and grains have been very high on the agenda, on the international agenda. UN also declared International Year of Pulses, from where lots of initiatives have started. We have to pick up on that momentum. From the African Asian Rural Development Organization, we are encouraging the transfer of technologies as being requested by Excellency from Myanmar, even from Zimbabwe. We need that particular transfer of technologies. We cannot only emphasize only from the trade perspective. I'm very happy that there are many businessmen and trade houses sitting out here. We would encourage more partnership type of relationship so that we can solve that issue of food security, nutrition security, a very, very complex issue, interrelated with war, conflicts, climate change, now inflation. Everything is more and more complicated, and many people are not able to have a decent meal, and nutrition security is affecting more and more people in this world. I'll also like to highlight to the House, I've just been reading a report on a very last report on the SDGs, which has been produced. I think we are missing, we are lacking, we are off track on SDG 1, SDG 2. And obviously, pulses would be contributing to that SDG 1, SDG 2. And as a community, as Africa and Asia, these two continents, I think these are the two continents of the future where it has been highlighted. Technologies are there. It's only that it has to be transferred and the proper mechanism have to be worked out. We are already having some of the transfer. India also is doing great work through the Ministry of External Affairs, through ITech programs, where many people from other countries are being trained to take up that knowledge and technologies. We would like to see more and more technology transfer in the domain of grains and pulses, so as collectively we can ensure. I'll appreciate the mandate which has been saddled to this council, which is being launched today. This is a very laudable mandate, and these objectives obviously will be achieved only with the support of all stakeholders, including government stakeholders, private stakeholders, and academia, researchers. We need everyone to be on board to be successful on that. I can elaborate more on that, but because of time, maybe we can discuss later on. But I will invite all the businessmen, all the parties, and all the stakeholders. Please be in touch with ICFA, with the council, with audio. We've got lots of work, lots of food on the table, in the sense that technology has to be transferred, knowledge has to be transferred, and obviously trade will be there. It has already been highlighted. Now Africa is a united market with 1.4 billion people. That is another market similar to India. So India has got an opportunity to have a double its market if ever we go and produce. And there are many schemes, as our Excellency from Zimbabwe has highlighted. There are many schemes already earmarked by some of the governments. Some of the policy papers are already highlighting these type of things. We will be very happy to take forward together with the council all these initiatives. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. I totally agree with you. There is a huge potential with Africa, possibility $1 trillion of agri GDP in coming some time. That's a great possibility. I would like to touch upon a very important part here. When we talk about India Grain and Pulses Council, this whole idea has germinated from a fact that we are always talking about the producer, Jai Kisan. We all love our farmers for the beautiful food they produce. And we talk about the consumers because all of us consume. We are having a nice food here. But the unsung hero, I believe, in whole ecosystem are those who are in between the farmer and the consumer, our traders. And unfortunately, they have not been celebrated much. They always are scared of so many things, right? But at the same time, they invest, they take risk, and at the same time, they ensure that the delivery of food from farm to our plates is efficient. Can we clap for all our trading community once? I would now like to go to Professor Ramesh Chand, sir. Sir, your views. I don't want to bound you with any question because you are a deep ocean of knowledge, and we would just like to indulge in your knowledge, sir.
Mr. Khan, Chairman of Indian Chamber for Food and Agriculture, Excellencies on my left and right, and also in front of my eyes, representative from International Grain Council, participants. I am very happy to see that uh, representative from government, reps of trade, and also from some academic world. They are there in today's discussion. We have with us Mr. Tiwari, who has held very high position in Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India, and later as a Chief Secretary of biggest state of India, Uttar Pradesh. And also, I understand Mr. Samuel is JS in Ministry of Agriculture. And again, but Khan Sahib, you are doing, he's practically behind the scene planning so many things, which he shared with me also, which are very important for transforming particularly this kind of segment, cereal pulses and oil seeds. I would like to begin by congratulating Mr. Khan for yet another initiative. I always appreciate his ingenuity in coming with new ideas for agriculture. And sometime I used to wonder that how he is running show without any dedicated support from government side or even from private sector. Really admirable. Uh, Coming to today's this topic on grain pulses council and overall agriculture, domestic trade, international trade. A lot of interesting things are happening in domestic economy as well as in global economy. In fact, agriculture is a sector which I used to say that we talk more about glamorous sector rather than about the sector which matter most for welfare of global community. That is agriculture. Uh, if we look at uh, uh, attention on agriculture in the last 8 10 years, particularly after global financial crisis which began in 2006, you find that agriculture is now viewed differently for purpose of growth, for purpose of development, for purpose of welfare, and also for purpose of trade. Why it is being viewed differently? Because for economic world, growth matters most. And in the post-global financial crisis, manufacturing sector and service sector could not come back to their pre-crisis position. And you will be surprised to know this, but you can check it. I can share data with those who are having some skepticism about it. Share of agriculture in global GDP after 2006 has increased steadily. And it has not increased by one notch or two notch, it has increased by 33%. So that is one thing which is changing the entire, I would say, dynamics of development, the thinking around agriculture. That in many countries, like if you look at Brazil, the growth of non-agriculture sector in last 10 years is zero. It is only agriculture which is sustaining economy of a big country like Brazil. So those kind of things you find in many country, that agriculture is now coming to the forefront. The second dimension we have all seen during COVID period, most of non-agriculture closed. But if you look at agriculture, the growth rate of agriculture during COVID year was much better than if you take earlier period before COVID at global level and in most of the countries. So that also offer one lesson that whenever there is a global shock, maybe in the nature of pandemic, maybe in some other form, it is agriculture which provide resilience. It is agriculture which provide stability. But what is this is a matter of celebration, but there is a matter of concern also. The matter of concern is that despite increase in per capita food production during COVID years and post-COVID years, the incidence of undernutrition in the world is deteriorating. So why it is deteriorating? Because food was produced, but food did not move where it was needed most. You can check it according to FAO. There is increase in undernutrition, not in one country, two country, or three country. If I take the entire global south, you will find that the either the incidence of undernourishment stopped improving or it has deteriorated. In none of the country it showed improvement. And it is then and there that forum like this Cereal and Grain Council comes into picture. That since this council, this kind of platform, this kind of forum, uh, as my friend said, that there is a segment between producer and consumer, and role of that segment, that whatever is produced, and at the other end is the end user consumer, that this sector, the match, the 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 two, the producer and the consumers. So during COVID period, this disruption happened not only in one country, two country, almost throughout. So it is because of that, and it is true in India also, that even in India, according to FAO, percent of people who were undernourished, it increased from 13.5 to 16.5, despite increase in per capita food production. And that is, if you consider, because FAO report on 3-year basis, that effect of COVID. So these kind of institution, I think, will become much more important, because we are expecting more shocks in future because of climate change, because of geopolitical reason, because of many other kind of things. That how they ensure smooth flow, how they ensure proper storage for smoothing supply, and for smoothing consumption. The other trend which is relevant for Council on Grain and Pulses is that globally you hear a lot of criticism against meat eating, against non-vegetarianism, that people attribute many diseases to eating of red meats. There are calculations which shows that much of climate change is because of meat eating. You compare the two, plant food and animal food, so you find that climate footprint, water footprints are much smaller in case of plant food compared to animal food, and you find lot of shift in demand toward plant-based protein and plant-based food, especially this grain and pulses. Then another is that the in case of especially grains, cereals, the kind of technological changes which are already available in the world, they are more than adequate to bring revolution in Africa. They are more than adequate to sustain and maintain the kind of growth which we had during Green Revolution and many years after Green Revolution in India, that now our yield level in Assam, Odisha, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Eastern UP are so less that with Green Revolution technology, we can have decent kind of growth in agriculture, and mainly the technology in case of cereals. When we talk about this grain and pulses, these days many people talk about diversification of diets. You might also have heard TV debate that cereal now constitute less than 15% of total value of agriculture, and their share is shrinking. Yes, it is happening. But still, if you look at the welfare impact, how much people are affected by, say, cereal, which constitute 15% share, or by another segment, horticulture, which constitute now within crop sector 30% share. You will find that number of fruit and vegetable grower is not even 1/5 of what is the number of cereal grower and pulses grower. So from that angle also, it is very, very important that cereal and pulses in India, even now, are grown on around 62% of gross cropped area. fruit and vegetable are cultivated only on 6% area. So they are very, very important in terms of number, in terms of welfare of people. Coming to food and nutrition security, which is the ultimate purpose of main purpose of agriculture, to meet food, feed, and fiber. So mainly food things. Uh, we all know that cereal and pulses have sustained India's food security. It was either dal roti in North India or dal bhat. So even now, you will find that more than half of energy intake of Indian population come from cereals. And if you add pulses, it crosses 60%. Similarly, most of protein also comes from cereal and pulses. Many of you will be knowing that even wheat contain 10 to 12% protein. So most of the protein and energy, which are the two major nutrients of Indian diet, it comes from grain and pulses. And at the top of it, they are the cheapest source of energy and protein compared to any other food. So you can look at that if you have to get 10 gram of protein from protein rich egg or meat, it will be much more costly compared to taking 10 gram of protein from cereal or pulses. So this is how that food security, nutrition security of ordinary consumer, it hinges heavily on grain and pulses. And as we go along, that now we are talking of, we are more worried about this climate kind of things, sustainability kind of things. So there also you will find that particularly pulses, they score over high value crops in terms of contribution to nature, or if you do their assessment in terms of natural sources, or in terms of considering what economists call as externality. Then it is also strongly believed, and we have history in India, that the major reason behind sustainability without external input in case of Indian agriculture was mixed crop livestock system. And what livestock eats? Livestock don't eat mustard byproduct. Livestock don't eat leaf of apple or mango. But the byproduct of rice, byproduct of wheat, byproduct of corn, maize, that is the main dry fodder. That is what is sustaining most of our livestock. So these are the linkages and dynamic, that there is lot of merit and requirement to sustain, maintain, and encourage this group of commodities, even though their share in the total food basket from consumption side and production side is falling. It is like saying that share of agriculture in economy is falling. That doesn't mean agriculture is not important. Same thing applied to grain and pulses, that their share in overall agriculture is falling. That doesn't mean that they have become less important or unimportant. Coming to activities of the council, I wish some time today was spent on this thing also, that what kind of activities this council, which is conceived by Khan Sahab and his team, what kind of activities they should be undertaking. One is taking cue from International Grain Council, a very important council. You have an example before you. In fact, I invariably assess their site, because every 2 months I have to present to Reserve Bank of India before Monetary Policy Committee, what will be a situation of food prices or something like that. So I consult International Grain Council site to find out situation of beet price, rice, this they don't cover much of rice, but other grain they cover. So I consult that. So one could be that the way they have selected their function, you also see whether you can do those kind of functions, and if possible, not only doing those kind of function for India, for global South, for Africa. That is very important. Similarly, no institution in India is formally and systematically coming with outlook of commodity. Sometime casually you will find somebody here and there coming with that outlook, but there's a great demand for it. In fact, many traders, they approach me, but I tell them in my position I can't. I'm not supposed to give you advice about their business, and they offer to me that when you retire from here, just consider joining us. So I just feel that there is so much demand for this outlook of commodity, particularly price outlook, what is likely to happen, trade intelligence, and about disruption and shocks. Lot of demand for input on all those sides. So maybe this council can think of taking some activities on these lines. Another area, I think after that I will stop. I am taking more time than I'm supposed to take. That one segment of Indian agriculture which remain untapped, and agriculture is falling behind the general development which is happening in the country in that area. That is right kind of pricing of quality traits, quality attributes. You know that most of the produce in mandis sell at dadas, just common kind of things. But within commodities in agriculture, there is so much variation that wheat will be selling from in the mandi 2000 rupee per quintal to it can fetch 5000 rupee, even 6000 rupee, even more than that, depending upon what kind of wheat it is. India's consumer, and for that matter, anywhere else, when income of consumer increases, they they are willing to pay more for quality attribute than for quantity. I did one 10 years back for ICR Vision 2050, and based on some arithmetic equation, uh, the match between demand and supply side factor was not figuring. The only explanation I could find out is that from expenditure side, growth is coming much larger than what I was that value of output. The reason was that willingness of consumer to pay one third, to spend one third of their expenditure on quality attributes. So that is the direction in which we are going. I think that will be a new challenging area, new area for this council, that how we can mold our trade to create incentive for quality trades, and so that but I found from that by 2050 that if in Indian agriculture we have 4% growth, around 3% is because of increase in volume, but 30% or 25% is because of quality trades. But that will not happen if trade doesn't encourage it, if we do not have a saying, if we do not grade our produce before bringing to market. So like this, I think, Khan Sahib, it is a very fertile area. Now it depends upon you how you harvest it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir. I'll just add, sir, to luckily when me and Khan Sahib ideated on this. So, sir, the points you are talking about, definitely we'll be working on supply and demand numbers, right, from multiple countries, which are impacting grains and pulses. at the grassroots level, whether using the modern technology, surveying. So all those mechanisms we'll be using to come with supply and demand. Price shock, you rightly said, actually, like, we are monitoring it, and we'll be having very eminent people from the trade industry also participating in our executive and steering committee to guide us where they foresee that down the line in a month or 2 months or 3 months, there could be shock. For example, we had very recently a discussion that we are seeing that the crops are not very good in Malawi as well, right, for pulses. So we are overseeing, like, in next 3 months, we could be having a little bit of shock from specifically for tour in Africa. So those intelligence and monitoring to all our members will be providing, and definitely we'll also be providing on a monthly basis to the government. That I can assure you.
Now, let me thank Dr. Chand for very comprehensively covering all the dimensions and dynamics of production and trade and its central role in food security and farmers' livelihood and their welfare. Very beautifully you put it. And then I recall my village days that only few farmers did horticulture. More number did animal husbandry, but all of them were engaged in grains production. So even though value of the grains may be less and less, but its impact, social impact, continues to be very, very critical. So thank you very much, Chadak Sahab. Let me bring in Mr. Arnav again. Thank you, Mr. Arnav. We are meeting on 19th of this month in London, and thank you for agreeing to sign up, MOU to collaborate, where we can, work collectively and collaboratively towards addressing many issues that this sector faces. Just we would like to thank you. That's a good gesture. We would like to understand from you that how do you see that trade, outlook and unfolding the dynamics in the years to come, and how International Grains Council is set to play that role to contribute to the food security of lesser fortunate countries which are not having the domestically grown food security.
Thank you very much for the question. We just published last month our first forecast on 24-25. What we see is, in terms of wheat, we might have a lower harvest in 24-25. And I would say main issue is about the yield. Indeed, area is decreasing, and today we not have a bad forecast on yields. But that means till June 24, we will look very anxiously about the weather. Because if we have too much wet conditions in the Black Sea region or in EU, it will affect definitively the trade opportunity or the trade surplus. In terms of price, it's always a challenge to talk about prices, but I would say for the time being, there is a good availabilities of grains in the North Hemisphere, but also in the South Hemisphere. Argentina and Australia had a good harvest, so there is ample grains available in the market. So this is why today you see the wheat price, I would say, cheap, if I may say so, if in the farmer's perspective, I would say. But for next year, what is right is less volume available. And also, we have seen less area planted in Black Sea and in Europe. So that means the wheat available will be on regions where it is usually more expensive. I'm looking about US, Australia, or Argentina. Usually it's not the area where the price is the most competitive. So this is why next year it will be a balance between what we will harvest in volumes, but also the origination of this wheat, and it might be having a price going up on wheat. On maize, definitively we see again a very good harvest in North and South America. So no limit in terms of supply, and in terms of trade, it's mainly due, as it has been referred in one of the speakers, the meat consumption. Meat consumption will really define the need on feed, and that's something really important to look at. A factor which we do believe will not have a big impact is about biofuel. You know that there is a strong programs of biofuel development, ethanol production and maize, particularly in North America and also in South America and Brazil. But we see that for feedstock, for livestock sector, I mean, indeed, what the co-product of bioethanol is the DDGS, which is very highly concentrated on proteins. So it's really also very complementary to the need of the livestock sector. So we don't see really a big problem there. Then on soybean, we are expecting a good rebound on production and also in trade. So meaning trade, particularly the demand in China continuing to be high, and also all elsewhere. So if we look indeed on trade now, usually we were making a simple approach about this global trade on soybean between Brazil and China, 60% in volumes. But if we look in the last 4 or 5 years, the increase of trade, it is 15% coming from higher demand in China and 50% coming from other countries. So this is why now we need really to look forward, not only the demand in China, but in other countries in terms of soybean and soy meal, in order to look really about the trend of the market. And that's, again, here in terms of livestock sector, good opportunities, because we feel that soy meal will be ample for the next marketing year. So here, again, a good opportunity to have a very competitive production on white meat particularly. So that's really a poultry sector in this case. So really we see more opportunities in terms of trade and volumes, mainly on maize and on soybean. On pulses, it's still a bit early, I would say, from our side to have a global view on pulses, because we are monitoring 7 types of pulses for the time being. So it's a bit challenging to tell you for 24, 25, indeed, what could be the landscape, I would say, of the pulses. But definitively, we see an opportunity to increase volumes on pulses, globally speaking. We see on lentils, on beans, there is a strong demand. And particularly because there have some countries, and particularly in Africa, having some difficulties to get exchange in dollar, and they are exhausted. I would say the economies have been exhausted by a very high level of the dollar in the last 2 years. So that's really something which can hamper, I would say, the trade in the future. Is our countries in Africa or the least developing countries have still a possibility to buy in with a high level of currency. So that's something we need to look. And the last point I would like to add in terms of framework for the trade is about logistics. As you have seen, for sometimes in US, we have some issues about the Mississippi River, the level of water not enough to have the full trade flow. Panama is not anymore an opportunity to move the grains to Asia. And now we have this disruption in the Red Sea crossing. So that's definitively having an impact on the movement of grains from these different regions toward Asia, and in impact vice versa also, because you have less availabilities of cargoes. For the time being, the main impact is about the duration of the journey. It has increased by 10, 12 days more in comparison to the shortest voyage. But in terms of cost, we are talking about $4 or $5 per ton plus. So it's not necessarily a tremendous increase. And as I said, on these different commodities, there is ample availabilities. Therefore, the overcost is more on the charge of the supplier. So meaning there is a competition between originations, and they tend to cover the overcost. That's we see for the time being. But as I said, 10 or 12 days more in terms of transportation, trade finance will increase definitively. So that's these factors we need to look for 24, 25, because it can have a negative impact on trade opportunities at the end. That's quickly make a presentation about the grains market development opportunities, but also some challenges to look and to monitor closely for 24-25. Thank you very much, Dr. Khan.
The valuable insights you have provided, and looking forward to see you next week on the same day at your office in London. I think as on to the next session, and then we bring in the DG I'm sorry,
Sir,
DG
thanks a lot,
BRRI.
sir.
They just have to continue. Yeah. साहब लास्ट में कर लें इसको, 1-to-1 कर लीजिए. दीपक जी, we can move on to the next session. You can request Samuel and Tiwari Saab and Dr. Tarun Bajaj is also here. So,
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
ऐसा करते हैं. I think the launch and announces that we can complete now,
Yes.
and then we move into the next session.
Sure.
So we can request Dr. Saab, then you can be seated. Your Excellency, Mr. Singh, please, you can also join because Dr. Chand has to go, so we can complete the launch formalities. So, Tiwari Saab, please come. Then session, 1 minute, just 1 minute. नहीं, 1 मिनट ही लगेगा ना, वो लॉन्च हो जाए. आ जाइए. हाँ, वो जाना है, इसलिए वो थोड़ा चेंज करके वो लॉन्च वगैरह कंप्लीट करा लेते हैं. सैमुअल जी, प्लीज कम. आ जाए, अब बैठ से बैठे. नहीं, बैठ जाए, बैठ, वो जो भी कर रहा है. आइए. And okay. And Dr. Bajaj, you can also join, please. एक चेयर ऐड करा दें. So I think there is little change in the program. So the next session will be after this because chief guest had to leave. So therefore, there are three announcements. One is the launch of India Grains and Pulses Council formally. So I think Ankit can help with this click of the button to, so this is first one. Okay. So Dr. Saab, all the suggestions that you have given, this brochure contains most of them. If not, then we will modify and add the remaining part in that. Okay, so I think we can stand up. Now this this is done.
Yes, sir. Website launch.
Wonderful website launch. So you can look at this. You can start. Hi. This is wonderful. So let me thank Mr. R.K. Tiwari, former Chief Secretary, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and earlier in Ministry of Agriculture, Joint Secretary, for agreeing to chair this council. So he is formally takes over the responsibility of being the chair of this council. And there are other members of that in the brochure Deepak ji will subsequently read out. The second release is about the Grains World Conference that we are announcing in Dubai, and this is fully supported by the Ministry of Commerce under their Market Access Initiative program. So it's a very large size event coming up, and I'm happy that the International Grains Council has agreed to partner with this. This will play a very important role in terms of accelerating the trade. So this is 26 to 28 November in Dubai. A very large conference and expo has been planned, funded by the Ministry of Commerce. So its website can be website is there. That's how we can look back. We can look at it. Already reflect. Grains World Conference and World Grain Expo. The third release is about the new College of Agribusiness Management that we are starting in Noida, Greater Noida. Already we have one, but one more because the scope is big. So School of Agribusiness Management to produce the agribusiness leaders of tomorrow to carry forward the the businesses and agenda of the corporates and to serve the farmers and serve the trade and that deficit part that these well-trained graduates, MBA in agribusiness. So bring that. Formally, the admission is open today. इसका वेबसाइट जानो फ्रेंड you can have a look at that site. This is the logo. And 11 areas of specialization. This is the first institution which is going to specialize in sub-sectors like dairy, poultry, farm mechanization, agri-inputs, farm production and management, food business, agro-marketing and exports, poultry business, and so on. So this is going to be, little different from the existing agribusiness institutions in the country because it is going to specialize in sub-sectors. So producing the graduates fit to serve that industry specifically. So thank you very much for the honor done. And I think, Deepak ji, we move on to the next session. Sure. So nice. I come with you. That's how African. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Chan, sir, for gracing us. It was a pleasure to have you, sir. Thank you. So now we move to our next panel discussion. So we would. So we would request Shri Tarun Bajaj ji to join us on the dais. Shri Dushyant Tyagi ji to join us on dais. Shri Sanjay Sacheti ji to join us for a panel discussion on dais, sir. Samuel ji, आप जाके आइए, no problem, please. Sir, थोड़ा सा please, sir. Amrendra ji, are you here, sir? Yeah. Okay, please. Sinha ji, please, sir. Can you join? नहीं, okay, sorry. Sinha ji नहीं है क्या? Right, okay, so fair enough. So thanks everyone. Sir, we'll start with you only, right? Because this session is on policy concerning grains, pulses, production, logistic, consumption, validation, marketing, and export. So being part of APEDA, we are seeing that there is a little bit of restriction in some trade, especially of commodity of your interest. How do you see going forward that actually it impacting overall both the production as well as the trade in rice and other grains, sir?
Thank you very much. In fact, if we see our export basket, cereals dominate a lot. Now, despite restrictions on one particular cereal, non-basmati rice, we have seen basmati rice crossing 5 billion. So that has become the largest commodity, agri commodity, which is being exported from India. So that shows the importance of cereal trade as far as export basket is concerned. When we come to the cereal sector overall, definitely India plays pivotal role in the world overall map when it comes to wheat, rice, maize, and last year we promoted millet also. And when, because now we are 1.4 billion, then definitely we have a responsibility to take care of our own people. But at the same time, being a responsible nation, blessed by the nature, it is equally important and our duty to take care of the world's food security and nutritional security. And that's how it becomes the role of India very important in terms of grains, pulses, cereals. Yes, it is true that the kind of attention we should have given it requires more in the coming times also. We realized it during COVID that food security is utmost important, and he made other countries also to realize that food security is very important besides we take care of the other developmental factors. The world population, with pace it is growing, 8 billion, 9 billion, and we are talking of 10 billion, then definitely the world's food security and nutritional security, lot depends on grains and cereals, pulses, all the plant-based items which are required. And that's how the importance of this council, which has been today announced, becomes very important so that we can have a more focused approach. We can attend to the challenges we have, and there are challenges, admittedly. There are opportunities also, and there are definitely threats at the same time. And we have to address them. We make sure that in the coming times, we are able to achieve the objectives which have been mentioned in this council.
Thanks a lot. Pretty encouraging, right? I like, coming from the background of grains and pulses, it is a little bit of music to ears. I would like to go to Sanjay ji for you, like, you being a corporate, right? Taking a lot of load of ensuring, as I was saying, like, connecting farmers to the consumer. You play a very vital role. Going forward, how do you see, like, we can make the whole supply chain more efficient with intervention of corporates like Olam?
See, as you rightly mentioned, our model is basically to connect farmers, and the back-end supply chain to the forward markets the world over. And that's where I think while we play that role by being in multiple countries, multiple crops, multiple markets, we also need we need basically conducive policies. Uh, I think a very resilient farming system, which continuously throws up surpluses, which we can place in the global markets. So I think resilience in the production system is one part. The other part is investment in logistics, which allows us to be as efficient as some of the competing countries, like let's say Vietnam or Thailand, where use of river systems for logistics has brought down their cost of moving material from the farmlands to the ports considerably. So we need to see how we can compete with them. And third is obviously the whole debate around conducive policies, and conducive policies is more consistency in the policies. So, but while one understands that we are in a very volatile world with climate change, with geopolitics, with pandemic, these kind of factors impacting the supply side of various crops. But we still need some more conducive policies, especially wherever we are consistently export surplus. So that's something which smoothens the trade, and that brings out the credibility of the country as a reliable supplier, reliable, consistent supplier in the global markets. Fourth thing which I would say is that how does the government policies, and we are focused on policies, right? Your question was more on that. I think how do they help the Indian farming system become more capable in terms of realizing pricing premiums in the global market? So how do you brand? How do you segregate? How do you do GI? How do you exploit the GI potential of various crops? India, I see, is Indians are underselling the produce. We are not able to premiumize whatever we are offering, and which is what the more developed or more evolved agricultural countries are doing. They are trying to premiumize. We see some initial changes there, but I think a lot needs to be done. And from a policy side, that value maximization on a per ton basis is the need of the hour. Because as we move up the value chain, as we become a more prosperous country, we cannot undersell, because that is not good for the farming system and the complete value chain. So I would stop here. Thanks.
Samran, we'll go to you the same question. Like, you have been ABCD, the A to start with, because when we got into commodity, we read ABCDs of the world, and you are the A. How do you see, like, typically, like, the policy environment, how feasible it is to be more efficient? And especially we see that, like, with sometime the restriction coming, I was talking to someone yesterday. They said, this is the best time for our, like, life. I said, why? Well, we have nothing to do, right? We have been restricted to do anything. So with that in, like, so that behind the rear view mirror, how do you see policy evolving, and what it would be your, like, request to the government about the policy, like, for both national building as well as for ensuring the trade is in, like, right direction?
So, So first of all, I would like to congratulate Deepak, you and Mr. Khan for launching this council. It's quite an exciting moment, and really, I wish you all the best. That this council should see a lot of success, and work closely with the policy makers to really progress this whole sector. So really thankful for inviting me also here. And then talking about what do we need, I think for our agriculture system, especially for the grains and pulses. I think, and for oilseeds as well, we need to have an ecosystem approach. I think with having clusters which are specifically focused on crop, and where you provide them the ecosystem, where you right from starting from ICARs, where you have the agriculture research, you support the farmers with the new technology, and then provide them the right solutions in terms of credit, in terms of warehousing, and then developing the logistics, so that first of all we are producing the crop with the best yields, and then reducing our cost on the logistics, and connecting both of our domestic as well as export markets. I mean, if we see anything which have succeeded, if you talk about technology, we have Bay Area, we have Bangalore. Why? Because they have the vibrant ecosystem. So that's the playbook which we'll have to apply for our agriculture systems as well, which can definitely help our farmers, our consumers, and the country as such, and then helping the farmers to grow their income. So that is how I'll put my thoughts on. Thank you.
Great thoughts. I believe, like, we all are, like, here for national building. And I would now like to, like, go to Samuel, sir. And believe me, like, somebody told me, if you want to really work for positive development of the nation, find a champion in the government and don't leave him. Right. So we are having a champion, right? Samuel, sir, he's always open to, like, new ideas. He's always open to, like, toss ideas with each other. And believe me, like, one of the very dynamic officer I've seen, very, I would say very rarely happening in the government, right? And sir, with like, my question is that we have seen that the efficiency of the private sector has always been better than the government for various reasons, right? Now, when we talk about, like, inefficiency in the procurement, when we talk about the losses of the precious commodity our farmers produce, finally, like, over a period of 2 3 years, 5 years, we find that, like, 8 10 15% of them get deteriorated, and finally, it is sold as a slum sale. What role do you see of private sector, right, going forward in helping government to build right buffers, procure it at the right price, and also ensure we become nutrition and food secure?
It's a very complex question in one line he has just put. First thing is he has overstated about me being dynamic and all those things, but it's basically we are supposed to do our duty, and we have been doing that. Now, coming to the specific question that Deepak is asking is, you see, from a government perspective today, the challenges that the government faces are multifarious, in terms of achieving self-sufficiency in pulses, self-sufficiency in oil seeds. And we have been talking about this since decades. And even today, when you compare with the global benchmarks, we are not doing that well. And so there are many of the areas that we'll have to address. We do recognize the efficiencies that do exist in the private sector, because private sector is basically, they have some commercial interest in doing the business, and therefore lean, mean structures and such logistic and supply chain efficiencies do exist there. But when it comes to the scale at which the government is doing, you must appreciate PDS, the scale, rice and wheat, what we were handling during COVID times. India was one of the countries where people were not going hungry. We had food surplus, but that doesn't mean that you don't distribute properly during crisis. That is also a challenge. In fact, handling surplus is much more challenging than handling deficit. So if you see how do we leverage this, yes, government definitely has got policies. Under PM Asha, there's a scheme called private procurement stockist scheme that was not taking off because of some limitations. So how do we address them? By making certain subtle changes in the system. We recently came up with the PPP ABCD, public-private partnership for agri-value chain development. As he was mentioning, my uh, colleague, here he was telling about the ecosystem approach. This entire ABCD is agri-value chain approach, wherein all the policies, if you see from from the ministry side, will be farmer-centric as to how do you benefit the farmer by giving him a remunerative price for all the effort that he has taken in producing food, and also at the same time, de-risking the agriculture activities. A lot of threats are there in terms of climate change, water, soil, pest, weather, so many unpredictable things. So buffering agriculture from all these challenges, and at the same time ensuring that our entire supply system, is efficient. Government has been taking various steps. In fact, engaging private sector is one of them. And certainly, private sector engagement is a must as we move forward. Even if we have not been doing earlier, we will be doing it with much force and energy in the days to come. And certainly, the private sector efficiencies will definitely be leveraged by the government sector in making various changes in the policies.
Thanks a lot, sir. And I didn't understate it actually what you are doing, right? And many of you who have engaged with him knows that. I think maybe I would have not said sufficiently more. So I would now like to go for felicitating all our panelists with bouquet, and also request Tiwari sir, our chairman for steering committee of IGPC, sir, to join us. So it's an honor to be working on the same project as you. Thanks a lot, sir. So Khan sir, would you grace bouquet to? Sure. Please, sir. Samuel, sir. Mr. Amre. Tarunji. Thank you. Sanjay ji. And my dear friend Dushan ji. Thank you. So my question next to Dushan ji, actually, please. So Dushan ji, he's been a friend and also someone who has ruffled a lot of feathers long back, right? He's a guy actually who started the as a strategic partner to project called Enam, the world's biggest digitization of agriculture marketplace. So your views on when you see things in hindsight and where we are, what policy changes and what are the challenges you see going forward, and what is required from the government. Today we can spell it out because IGPC is meant for that.
Thank you, Deepak, and congratulations for establishing this council to you and Dr. Khan. It's an important issue, and all of us know it. And the objectives which council has decided to pursue are really hot and need to be pursued. So, like Professor Chand pointed out, despite having enough of production and this food availability, or what you called, food insecurity, is increasing globally, worldwide, and it has climbed in last 6 years despite all efforts. So this opaqueness between production and the availability. So, like they say, the best markets are where when you achieve the two basic elements, and one is choice, and the other is uh, choice and one thing you really need to establish a system where one has enough choice, and the second is access. So I believe digitization is going to play an important role going forward while we address these challenges either on the production side or on the consumption side. So as a country like India, what we could achieve at ENAM in last 8 years, at least we could establish a market, countrywide market, where you have some visibility of the product post production or post harvest or on the market side. So I strongly believe, Deepak, the connected systems will make a lot of difference. And after initiatives from the government side, like AgriStack and others, where you capture the data right at the right at the time of origin, until the time it sinks into the market, and post that the consumption are going to play a very important role. So India as a country will definitely be looking for a market of global size where everything, for example, we import a lot of inputs, for example, fertilizers, pesticide intermediaries, we import on the input side, and our export and imports on the output side are also humongous. So that would be the final, solution to this opaqueness. Deepak.
So last word to you, Tiwari sir, like, your views on where the policy should be going, you being the part of the government, right? You understand the challenges of government, right, when they make policy. So we are seeing that there is a little bit of inelasticity when it comes to specifically pulses. Grain still, I'm saying that we are being, I'm saying that, okay. But pulses, we see a lot of inelasticity. Going forward, how do you see, like, the policy or your suggestion to the trading community as well as the government?
Thank you, Deepak ji. First of all, let me congratulate Dr. Khan. I know him for last 25 years or so, and I have seen him how he has been pursuing the cause of agriculture and farming and food production. He started his journey from a village, and then how did he rise step by step? And it is absolutely amazing to see the kind of work that ICFA is doing. We made a mark, and it's so heartening to see that so many stakeholders are being brought. You have created a wonderful platform where people from all walks, all the stakeholders, whether it is government or farmers or trading, community, scientists, all have come together. And I strongly believe that there is tremendous power in collaborating and working together. So if you can bring people who have shared interests, they can come together, they can speak, I think 99% of the world's problems will get resolved. Problem comes only when we don't come together and when we don't talk about it. Agriculture has been my interest also for many years. I've had the opportunity of working both in Government of India and the state also. And well, as Ramesh Chandra ji said, that agriculture used to be quite unglamorous area many years before. But I always found it one of the most important sectors of economy, one of the most important backbone sector of welfare for the people. Not only employs the maximum number of people, but it feeds one and all. So if you slip away from agriculture, you slip away on almost entire activities in the business. Now, coming back to the subject of grain and pulses, well, we must celebrate that we have been doing reasonably well in last, since Green Revolution, in fact, from the days when India used to be a net importer, we used to borrow with folded hands to feed our people. And from there, we have come a very long way where we are exporting now the cereals. So it has been a good story. But I always, whenever I look at my achievements, I always set my goals that what was the potential? Could we do more? And were there some areas where things could have been done better? So while we continue to celebrate our performances, our achievements, but then we never stay behind and take it lightly. We must continue to move fast on this. And particularly when the subject is that of agriculture. You ask a farmer if there's a pest attack on his crop, can he afford to wait to take the decision for even a couple of days? Or if he has to water his plant, or if he has to sow his crop. The timing is so important for agriculture. If a farmer understands it so well, I think earlier all other stakeholders, including the government, understand it's very important. So the decisions have to be extremely fast when we come on agriculture. Sometimes we find that these decisions could have been faster and better, would have definitely given much better outcomes. Deepak rightly mentioned about the good work that Samuel is doing. He's one of the very fine officers. But I was not, I really don't agree with him that in government it is very rare. I mean, this is something which really pinched me because I find that both in government and private sector, we have wonderful people who've been working, who've been contributing. It is basically the kind of environment, the ecosystem which my friend talked about. How is that individually we all excel so well in our own arena of work? But when it comes to collective delivery, we seem to be slipping away. We seem to be taking more time. There have been delays, which really stops us from realizing our full potential. Now, just to give some example, I mean, for Pulse itself, earlier pulses used to be, I mean, when you talk about 50s and 60s, pulses used to be the 16% or 17% part of the total food grain basket of our country. And the kind of policies that we took up, I mean, the idea is not to find any fault with anywhere, but the price policies, the production policies, the fiscal policies, the kind of policies that we adopted, share of pulses in last 40-45 years has come down to now less than 8%. While we all realize that pulses continue to be a very important source of protein for some 40-45% of vegetarian people and even non-veg people also. I mean, it's not that the non-vegetarian people don't consume pulses. So pulses could have been much better. They have been growing. I mean, it's been in the last 7-8 years, a CAGR of about 5% in pulses. But then still, while we are coming closer to becoming self-reliant on pulses, I remember when I was in Government of India, our goals were that by end of 12th plan, earlier it was end of 11th plan, and then later on, we set the goal that by end of 12th plan, we will be self-reliant so far as pulses production is concerned. But I think even today also, there's some gap. And still, I think we are looking at 2030 or maybe later, then we become self-reliant and be able to grow pulses for ourselves. Our mission, I was going through the mission document, is that we need to not only serve ourselves, we need not only to be growing ahead of ourselves, but we need to export. We need to become a market leader across the world. How to do that? How that happens? I think this will not happen by, by business as usual. It will not happen by just making annual budgets and by sanctioning and by looking at in a very similar way the way we looking at it in past many years. I don't say that we have not done great work, as I mentioned earlier. But then if we really want to become a net exporter and not just a marginal exporter, but if we want to become a leader, I think something drastic, something much different has to be done. And I seek cooperation and ideas of all of you. I have noted down many points which came up today. Very useful points have been made by participants. And I'm sure that together we can move faster. And particularly, I mean, I must say that this government, I mean, I have interacted with the central government, with the at various levels from the state also. They want to move very fast, and they have capacity to move very fast. And I'm sure that if we can put up the right kind of ideas and right kind of proposals for them, I think things would move a lot faster. Thank you.
No, so thanks a lot, being someone who has been in the system and understanding so well the system, coming out of you and looking forward. I believe, like, with your contribution, you would be able to scale really, and so that the highest point of what a council can achieve, right, with the type of understanding you are having. And sir, I never meant that actually they're rare, but I'm saying that when we talk about so many officers, right, finding a champion is rare. It was not about the quality of the officers, but finding a champion.
Champions. And food security is only about champions.
Sir, I was not born, so I have not seen that. So with that, like, we had a great panel discussion. And with that, Khansab, if we have any questions, please raise your hand, and we'll be more than happy to take questions. Any questions, please? So question ये तो सर एक चीज है, तो यार सबको समझ गया, बिल्कुल नहीं समझे.
इंटरनेशनल लोग कनेक्टेड थे, वो क्या अभी आई थिंक देयर वाज डीजी BRRI and someone from Africa, the Africa Rice and all.
Right. So I think they have dropped, or they are still like they've dropped. Okay. So then we can, sir, with your permission, we can close the session. Yeah, there is no question. So with that, like, I would make a commercial request, sir. That's a part of it. Please, you're having a question, please.
So before I ask my question, I just want to take this opportunity to convey the warm congratulations of His Excellency the High Commissioner of Ghana, of Ghana to India, His Excellency Kweku Asuman Treme. Now, my question is in regards to the trade barriers. I'd want to know if there are measures being taken to address trade barriers and also to facilitate market access to grains and pulses, which one way or the other will help increase, positive competition amongst, Indians and, Ghanaians, let's say.
So I would like to take that question.
Thank you very much. Yes, you are right. After WTO, the non-tariff barriers definitely have increased, and they are finding this as one of the ways to restrict entries, to contain entries, and that is true becoming word over. Now, when I talk to India, we are taking care of market access issues with our trading partners. You see, on the Indian side, we have opened up our market tremendously. We have opened up our market generously, I'll tell you, to the world. And I would say that in return, the same kind of a response, to the same level of response, we may not have received from other trading partners. I won't go specifically to it. Trade, non-tariff barriers, the trade barriers are becoming important. They are trading partners. In the name of non-tariff barriers, they are changing goalpost every time. You go and achieve one goalpost, they said, now this is the next goalpost. The next goalpost, the one or the other barriers they're having. So these barriers have to be checked and addressed, and we have to internationally take India as one of the, and you have seen it in our agriculture meetings world over, our ministers and our policy decision makers, they're taking a firm stand now. They're taking a very firm stand, and we are ensuring that non-tariff barriers, they are, don't become a habit, which is becoming in case of other, some of our trading partners is concerned. At the cost of repetition, I'll say India on the other side is very open comparatively. And yes, we are giving more and more market access to the world. That's why you see now today, we see produce of almost every corner of the world, which is coming to India. And another thing is, when we give market access, we decide a protocol, say X, say Apple, I would talk of. We have given market access of Apple to a particular country. We decide on a protocol. Of course, our plant protection, they see, another food safety, if it is involved, then we say, yes, this is protocol. And on that basis of protocol, we don't frequently interfere or don't change it unless there is a concern which is noted. Whereas we see in case of other countries, they give market access and at the same time, they keep on having more barricades even after giving market access also. So I'm not saying the trade barriers first, then after giving market access, the further barriers are also there. That also has to be addressed. This is a world concern. We all have to together address this issue. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tarunji, for such a elaborate. I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Any other question? They were not able to identify who is he. Hey, Mr. Ritan, if you can hear me, can you start your camera, show your face, and also introduce yourself, sir? Sir or madam? Yeah. So, as we don't have any questions, sir, with your permission, I would request anybody who wants to become a member of IGPC, please feel free. We are having 3 types of memberships: patron, corporate, and ordinary membership. So Richa and Neeraj can help you. They are here. You can talk to them. And with that, I would request Khan Sahab to close the event, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Deepak ji, for very nicely conducting the whole program today. And let me thank His Excellency, the Secretary General of Africa Asia Rural Development Organization, Mr. Manoj Nardev Singh ji. Thank you for being with us throughout. Let me thank R.K. Tiwari Saab for your kind words and generosity and agreeing to be part of this council to chair it. Samuel ji, thank you very much for not only being part of this discussion, but as we all know, that very important role that you are playing in the ministry. All the friends from Dushyant Tyagi ji and from Olam International Sajati ji, Mr. Mishra, Dr. Tarun Bajaj, who heads the Basmati Export Development Foundation at EPIDA. All of you, I think this is a great evening, and this council, all of us are very confident about the role that it can play, because these 2 very critical areas that it stands to address, and both are very, very important, extremely important from trade perspective. One, that we are the largest exporter, and the second, we are among the largest importer, probably the largest importer of pulses in the world. While we are the largest producer also of the pulses, 25% of the world, but we are also the largest importer. So there are a lot of issues from time to time. In fact, in case of grains, we all know that some policy decisions, it comes as a jerk. A lot of time it takes to develop importers' confidence for India being a very reliable supplier. But for some regions, there are decisions taken, so that breaks the confidence. So whether we can work on some model and some system. I have been advocating, in fact, many times that Commerce Minister I meet and I tell Goel sahab kaise karte ho? And I'm sorry, this is personal talking, but the issue is that even if India has to import that much quantity to meet its internal requirement, but the exports must not be affected. Even if at higher cost, these imports have to happen. So this is one of the areas that I think we need to work, but a lot of work on the research side that Dr. Ramesh Chand mentioned, that policymakers also need very good research backup. And this comes more from such bodies which have overall exposure and, the trading community and all the stakeholders on board, so that a broader understanding that is brought to the attention of the policymakers. So there are, important support system that we can stand to play for the policymakers as well, and as also to help accelerate the trading, and importantly from India perspective, India's opportunity for exports. So I think all the objectives that have been circulated, but if Deepak want to read out for better understanding, he can. But vision and mission statement, the website is there for all of you to see, and we look forward to having all of you on board as we move forward our journey. And importantly, that International Grains Council has agreed to collaborate. So we'll be signing up a MOU next week with them. And also we have announced that Grains World in Dubai is a very large event, and thankfully the Commerce Ministry is 100% sponsoring that. So I hope that plays a very important role in terms of expanding the trade opportunities for India. This council is the third focused body that we have launched, starting with the India Agri Export Council. Tarunji was there in that launch, Vice Chairman Niti Aayog, that he had launched it, and then International Agro Arbitration Center, which is also very relevant and related to what the work this council can do. I think within a month's time, Dushyantji, that India Digital Agriculture Council will be launching, and a lot of discussion at FAO happened. In fact, DG has been quite friendly. In fact, before he became DG, he was Vice Chairman Agriculture, Vice Minister Agriculture of China. So we spent a lot of time together on many occasions. So some support from FAO also we are expecting for Digital Agriculture Council, and followed by the Agriculture Sustainability Council, because sustainability, nutrition, digital, and trade, these four areas are very important that we see in context of agriculture. So I think all on four areas, export of course added to that. So these five, trade and export same. So these five focused bodies, dedicated bodies, three have already been launched. I think that arbitration also. This is the world's first agro arbitration center. So I believe that we should be able to serve the specific requirements of the different sectors and put together the overall cause of food and agriculture. So thank you very much.
So please join for dinner. Thank you. A group photo.
Yes, but I agree with you. I explain. What